Hello for the third Sunday of Lent. The readings, Exodus 21 to 17. The Gospel, John 2, 13 to 25. And I call this the money changers in the temple. Well, often on Saturday evening or Sunday morning when I go into church, especially where I usually go, Pax Christi, and I say, oh, it's the weekend for selling the flowers. Money changers in the temple. I thought we just had all those wood carvings that the people from Jerusalem and Bethlehem came. Money changers in the temple. Oh, and it's coming up for the annual appeal. Sign up and make your pledge. Money changers in the temple. Would you buy some Girl Scout cookies, Father? Money changers in the temple. Sign that 2x4 and volunteer for Habitat for Humanity. Money changers in the temple. Well, I say this, and I know all good families and all good communities, you wind up, there's a lot of commotion, there's a lot going on, so this isn't all bad. But I'll tell you one thing that gets me upset, the way Christ got upset. And that is that toward the end of Mass, right after communion, when we sit down or kneel down and pray and listen to Jesus or talk to Jesus, whom I just received, it's my favorite part of the new changes in the liturgy. I guess is because I stopped working and I can maybe try to be a little bit more pensive and meditative. And then all of a sudden there's this laughter or this loud noise coming from the back of church or the front of church, whatever you consider it, when everyone's supposed to be silent. The music finally stops. The commotion's supposed to stop. And people just sort of a moment of silence with Jesus. And boom. I sort of think, no wonder Christ got upset with what goes on in the synagogue or the temple. You know, Christ was a Jew and a good Jew, and he wanted the Jewish religion to be better. And so he didn't buy a lot of the stuff, as we can see from the gospel, the money changers in the temple. He knew that these Jewish people were special. He was a Jew, and God singled them out, a teeny small nation in the East and Middle East, and that God chose, and they became very, very special. Small in number, little power, and world renown. But God chose them, which made them a very special people, a privileged people. And he wanted them always to remember that God saved them in Egypt in slavery and took them to the land flowing with milk and honey. And God wanted them to be appreciative and keep holy the Sabbath and pray and not do business. I think that's why God rested on the last day after creation. If God rests, why shouldn't the Jewish people rest and pray? Even today, the Jewish people, only about 15 million Jews in the world. They're still a special people, and they're still a small minority in the world. You know, the world is big. The world is, I went to the internet, there's 7.5 billion people in the world. That 7 is with 9 zeros after it. And the Jewish people, they say that there's only around 14 million, not billion, million people, pimple in world population. The Catholics, or the Christians, are the largest, 2.2 billion people. And Catholics, being Christian also, Catholics are over half of that, 1.2 billion people. So Jesus, just as Jesus was interested in Judaism, this real small, privileged people, in a real sense, we can say, well, we Christians, or we Catholics, we're only, 2.2 billion out of 7.5 billion. So we're 20, 25, 30% of the world. We are small compared to the whole world. We too are privileged, minority. So are the Muslims, they're the second biggest. And then Buddhists. But we are a small, privileged group of people who follow Christ. That new way, that new insight. That insight is Catholic. It's supposed to reach out to the whole world and follow in the footsteps of Jesus. In the Old Testament, Yahweh said, you Jews, keep my commandments. In the New Testament, Jesus said the same thing. Keep my commandments, which are founded totally on love. That you're supposed to love everybody. You're supposed to forgive always. You're invited to give all of your goods to the poor and come follow me. And it's highly ideal, but it is a real religion. Still a small percentage, still a great privilege that we are called to follow Jesus. And so when we come to our temple, our synagogue, our church, our community, we're called to pray to the Father, to pray to Jesus, to try to be influenced with His Spirit, the Holy Spirit. And we're really not and should not come here just to do business. I'm not condemning all of the wild activities before and after Mass, but I still get upset when we cannot, for 1 or 2 minutes after communion, settle down, be quiet, and listen to Jesus, whom I just received, or talk to Jesus, whom I just received. Money changers in the temple. Maybe Jesus did have a right to get upset and drive them out. Sometimes I sort of feel like, oh, maybe I do have a right to get upset when there's talking and laughing in the back of church when we're supposed to be meditating with Jesus in our hearts. Think about it. Have a good day.